for 2 seconds.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. We're just going to give it a moment to let everyone come into the room and listen in. All righty. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Janet Doan. I am the Admissions Outreach Coordinator here at Keck Graduate Institute. We're very excited to have you all here today to listen a little bit more about our Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies program. And here with us today, I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful faculty here at KGI. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. And we will also have a Q&A session at the very end, so you can unmute yourself and ask questions as well. So Dr. Eskees, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us on this afternoon. I don't know what the weather's like over there for you all, but here in California, it's cool and a little rainy today. So thus the scarf. Those of you who might be on the East Coast or somewhere else might think that's kind of funny that, that we're all bundled up. But it's such a pleasure to have you here. And as Janet mentioned, we would really love to have an interactive presentation. So please feel free to pop any questions you have in the chat as we go through, because sometimes it's easier to talk things out a little bit while we're in the middle of a section versus just waiting to the end. But we want to make sure that we get to tell you all about our amazing program. So I want to take a minute to go ahead and introduce Dr. Jason Laird, who is our clinical director, and he is joining us today to speak about our program. So let's go ahead and get started here. So we have two other faculty who were not able to join us today. And so Stacy McElroy, who is one of our assistant professors, and then Dr. Lauren Bolda, who's another assistant professor. And both of them teach various courses within our program as well. One of the things that I love to let everyone know is that each of us in the faculty comes from a different background. So we've all been PAs for a while. I myself have been a PA for about 19 years now, and pretty much have worked in primary care my entire career, mostly with underserved communities. And Professor McElroy is a orthopedic surgery PA who has also worked in trauma and ICU. Dr. Bolda has worked pretty much in emergency care and urgent care services during her career. And Dr. Laird, do you want to share a little bit about just your career as a PA?
Sure. So yeah, I come from basically an interest very early on in emergency medicine. I started in the ER. After a little while, started to develop an interest in surgery, which led me to neurosurgery, where I worked for a while. And then was recruited out of neurosurgery to my current role in general and thoracic surgery. So for about 11 years now, I've been in primarily a 50-50 split of thoracic surgery and general surgery, where I was the initiator of a robotics program and then became a regional director of bedside robotics for Kaiser here in Southern California, large hospital chain. And so my interests really are in the surgery field and minimally invasive surgery and robotics. It's really been kind of captured my interest over the last 7 or 8 years, really driving my career. I still currently work in general surgery, where I work 1 day a week right now, sometimes 2, but 1 day a week primarily in general surgery while I take on all this role of our clinical year, the second year of the program. So it's nice to have all of you here, and I hope you enjoy this presentation.
Thank you so much. All right, so we do want to have a little bit of interaction here. So those of you who have attended one of our presentations before, we love to really invite some interactions as far as figuring out where you've even heard about the PA profession before. We are seeing an influx, I think, of people who are hearing about it in college from maybe a college advisor. But if you could go ahead and type in the chat for me where you actually heard about the PA profession. Perhaps, it was a college advisor for you, or maybe a family member or a friend, someone that you've actually seen as a PA before and got to chat with, or maybe a work experience, a shadowing experience, things like that. So is there anything specific? Interaction in a hospital. Ooh, a health careers course, neat. family members, work, school, family, friends, lots of exposures. An undergrad, yeah. That's fantastic. Other PAs, definitely. I think we are the best representations of ourselves. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yes. Yeah, my mom actually worked in healthcare as a nurse too. So volunteering in a hospital and a clinic you volunteer at, absolutely. So it sounds like a lot of you have actually seen PAs in action, which is awesome, because that's really, really important to be able to understand what it is that you are getting into and what you really want to be like. So the more exposure to the PA profession, definitely the better. Now, I also like to kind of help understand where you're coming from as far as your knowledge of PAs, what PAs can and can't do, because I still think, we are a profession that's relatively new, and some people don't quite know all that PAs can do or can't do. So if you could, again, interactively pop in the chat, a PA can perform all of the following except, so A, B, C, D, E, or F. Is there anything here that we cannot do as a PA? So I see an F. What does anybody else think? Any restrictions here? Owning our own medical practice. Okay, I see a couple E's. And then some F's. E, depends on the state. Ooh, Keelani coming in with that. Absolutely. Actually, yes, the answer is F. But the degree of how much we can own our own medical practice does change from state to state. Here in California, we just cannot have 100% ownership, but we can have, as long as there's a physician owner for at least 1%, then we can. But there are PAs who own their entire practices, who are doing amazing things out there. So if you potentially want to own your own practice someday, it is possible as a PA. So we've already kind of mentioned some of these, but some of the things that PAs can also do that I think not a lot of people really realize is being involved in research. I think we don't have enough PAs in research. There's not a lot out there. And that is something that can be very important. PAs absolutely can do all of these things, including assisting in surgery. This way we have 2 faculty members who are surgical PAs as well to help train our students. And then earning additional certification in certain specialties. It's not required as a PA. I think that's one of the things that really brings people to the profession, is understanding that we have that lateral mobility with being a PA and being able to, work in multiple specialties at one time or be able to switch specialties. But you can actually go and get additional certification if you'd like. So PA continues to be one of the top couple of jobs in healthcare year after year after year. We're either 1 or 2 all the time as far as healthcare jobs go. And it is really always a good time to be a PA. So in order to be a PA, you do have to have a master's degree. That is the minimum degree now for our profession. There used to be certificate programs. There used to be bachelor's degree programs. But now every program out there is offering a minimum of a master's degree. Typically, we spend 12 to 15 months in the classroom and then 12 months of clinical experiences. We'll tell you about how our program is structured in a little bit. And then all of us do have to pass a national certification exam when we graduate. And then maintain, if we want to maintain certification, then we have to have 100 hours of medical education credits every couple of years. And then you're retaking a certification exam every 10 years, although that process is even changing. So our recertification process is being updated to be able to either take an exam at one time or be able to stretch it out and have kind of more of a take-home exam to assess your medical knowledge as well over several years. So let's talk about our program in particular. So we are Keck Graduate Institute. We are the 7th member of the prestigious Claremont colleges here in Claremont, California. And Keck Graduate Institute is the youngest Claremont college. We've been around for just a mere 25 years. It is our 25-year anniversary this year. So we've had a lot of fun celebrations so far, and just had a big 25-year anniversary gala. And the whole purpose of the Institute is really focusing on entrepreneurship and innovation. And this is something that we actually bring into our own program, talking about innovation in medicine, talking about entrepreneurship in medicine. And it's a really neat foundation that KGI really has at its core. Now, the mission of our program is to develop high quality PAs who are dedicated to advancing healthcare through three things: leadership, commitment to our communities, and then the compassionate care of diverse populations. And I think what is probably unique about us is this focus on leadership. So what we're trying to do with our PA program is help develop you as a future PA for whatever specialty you want to go into. Or if you don't want to work clinically and you want to help shape healthcare policy, or you want to go into administration, and we want to provide you with the tools to be able to do that. So PAs, what we can do is really endless as a profession. And we want to better support you in your development as a future PA to be able to go beyond just the clinic. If you want to work in clinical settings, that's great. How can you lead when you're within the clinic? How can you lead, show great leadership principles to those around you? You're going to learn all of that here at KGI. And our vision is that the way that we educate you is going to be innovative in the way that we teach you, the clinical experiences that we bring you, and then our interprofessional collaboration, which is really unique here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then, of course, that leadership training that I was just alluding to. And we really hope that you as a future KGI graduate will promote health equity. Health equity is really important to us here. We want you to help shape the future of healthcare. And like I said, we will help you, give you the tools to be able to do so. So our program is a 27-month program. So we decided to do 15 months of didactic, which is 4 semesters, and 12 months of clinical phase, which is 8 clinical rotations. Dr. Laird will share more about that in a little bit. Our enrollment target every year is 40 students, and that will stay static for a little while because of our accreditation, which we'll talk about. And the start date that you would be applying to, if you were applying right now for our admission cycle, is to begin for this next fall in 2023, and you would be finishing up in December of 2025. Now, another interactive question: how many PA schools as of today are out there? You can throw your best guess in the chat, or if you want to try to find it, you are welcome to do so. But we just hit a milestone number, I think, with this last accreditation approval cycle. So go ahead and pop something in the chat. How many programs do you think there are? Okay, 290 to 300, maybe 300-ish, 295. Any other thoughts? All right, 350. We're not quite there yet. We are at 300. So 300 was the big milestone that was just passed with the latest PA programs. And actually, if you look at allopathic medical schools, there's less than 150 allopathic medical schools out there. So the PA profession already has more schools. It's pretty incredible to watch how this profession is growing. So let's talk about why we are different. Well, I already alluded to the fact that we have the leadership and entrepreneurship side. Again, you may have great ideas on how you want to impact healthcare. Maybe you have the idea for how to start a clinic or how to start a nonprofit, and you just need some more guidance and vision. We are going to take our students through some leadership training and entrepreneurship training, in addition to all your other PA trainings that you're going to do, just so that if you're interested in doing that, you'll at least have a foundation laid to help support you in what you want your future to look like. Our additional focus in surgery and emergency medicine. So nationwide, about a third of PAs are going into primary care. And all of our PA programs in the United States really focus primarily on primary care because that has been a goal and a direction for our profession for a very long time. But really, a lot of students are graduating and going into surgical subspecialties and ER. And we want to be able to provide a better foundation for that. So we added additional coursework, and really we're working with high quality people in our clinical sites to really make sure that you're getting a great foundation in these areas if this is where you want to be. Now, as a primary care provider, I found that my experiences in surgery and ER, even though I knew I was only going to do primary care in my whole career when I was a student, it was so invaluable to me to have a better understanding of what was actually happening in the surgery and in the ER when I would send patients there. So no matter whether your goal is to work with the underserved in the primary care communities or in primary care, or whether you want to actually go and do surgery or ER, you're going to be well equipped here. We also have some really interesting other departments here at KGI for interprofessional collaboration. We have a pharmacy program. We have occupational therapy doctorate program that just started at the same time as us. And then we also have different programs like medical device engineering that I think that are very, very unique to KGI in that we can collaborate with our occupational therapy colleagues as well as the medical device engineers to help look at how can we help solve some of these problems and be able to bring interesting solutions through medical devices. So we also have a community medicine program and have been planning and working on some great interprofessional collaboration activities. Early clinical experiences. So many of you are seeing patients, already have interactions with patients, and we don't want it to be 15 months sitting in a classroom without having to, or without being able to see patients yet. And so we are providing these early clinical experiences starting in your second semester, so you can begin to apply what you're learning in the classroom out in real life long before you hit clinical rotations. And we think that's going to make you much more successful when you get out into the clinical rotations and then beyond. We have a big focus on community health here. It is actually a course that students take when they first get here, and it helps provide a support for the students to understand things like the social determinants of health in a very real way. And how can you as a future PA be able to go and make an impact in your community? As part of this, our students perform a little documentary on a different community around us and how they work, play, and live, and what kind of healthcare access and resources are around them in the community. It's a great course, and it has been a lot of fun. I personally teach it, and it has been a lot of fun to teach our students. And then our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we want you to not just understand these terms or understand what they are, but actually be able to practice them as a future PA, to be able to have a commitment to expanding and increasing and growing diversity, not just in the profession, but supporting diversity around you, supporting health equity, as we mentioned, and even equity in general. Man, we live in a society where we are experiencing struggles in all of these areas, right? So we really are going to be demonstrating to you our commitment to you with DEI, but also helping support you in your commitment to DEI in your communities as well. All right, so let's talk about our curriculum, because I think that's what people are most interested in as well, is how we're going to do all of these things. So in our didactic phase, we have 4 semesters, as I mentioned. Our first semester, which actually is taking place right now with our inaugural cohort, has 7 courses. So you can see across the board 19, 20, 20, and 21 credit hours. That is more than a full-time load. That's actually more than double what a typical full-time load is in a graduate level program. But this is very typical of PA education, is it is just a lot of work. It is a lot of balancing. There's a lot of classes going on all at the same time. But it's really important for you to begin with the foundations, such as your anatomy, the basic medical sciences. We want to start with evidence-based medicine so that even as we're going through clinical medicine, you have a better understanding of what studies are valid out there and what studies have been done well and done poorly, so you can understand whether or not to accept, the latest and greatest finding on a treatment for a certain disease, whether or not that study was valid. And then community health, as I mentioned. And then we have classes that go all the way through all the semesters, like patient assessment and PA professional practice, clinical and diagnostic skills. Those, are really helping teach you how to evaluate patients, how to be a professional, what are kind of some of the things that you're going to encounter as a future PA in areas that might challenge you, that maybe when we're talking about ethics, when we're talking about violence identification and prevention, even talking about things like the history of our profession and understanding better about where our profession came from and where we're going. And then clinical and diagnostic skills, of course. What are the labs? What are the diagnostic modalities like X-ray, CT scans, doing different procedures, things like that in that course as well. Starting in the spring, we will begin our series where we talk clinical medicine, then pharmacotherapeutics. And those courses will actually go through the rest of the didactic phase. So clinical medicine, there's 3 parts, and we cover all organ systems. And we really do try to align what you're learning in clinical medicine and pharm, patient assessment, and clinical and diagnostic skills, so that if you're learning about the heart and how to listen to the heart in patient assessment, you're also learning about the cardiology. So what diseases are we looking for in clinical medicine? How do we treat them in pharmacology? How do we, test for them in clinical and diagnostic skills? What procedures can we do to help support in cardiology? How to interpret an EKG, things like that. So we really are trying to make sure that you will learn things in context with one another so that you have a better understanding. And then look at the very last one, the fall 2024 in Core 3. There's one additional course, and that is Fundamentals of Surgery in ER. We decided to do that right before you go into the clinical phase so that you will have a fresh understanding of what else it takes to be a great surgery PA and in the ER and be able to kind of hit the ground running when you get into those clinical rotations during your clinical phase. I'm going to let Dr. Laird share a little bit about the clinical phase and how we run things there.
All right, thanks. So obviously, I think a lot of people have questions about the clinical year and what that's going to look like for us. We have these supervised clinical practice experiences, or SCIPPs is what we call it in PA school. Ours are 6 weeks each, and we'll go through 8 different settings. The way that we're doing this is really trying to get you real hands-on experience. So this isn't observational. This is actually doing the work with clinical sites, touching patients, talking to patients, learning how to do procedures, everything that you will do as a PA. And we're doing that in emergency rooms, outpatient settings, hospital settings, operating rooms, really just anywhere you can think that a PA would work. We're trying to have you there. And you can see really we listed out everything, but it's just the true scope of being a PA, and everyone will have a slightly different road as you go through this. Everyone will have a different collection of experiences, but it's really going to make you a whole complete practicing PA by the time you're ready to go. And hopefully one that has exposure to things that perhaps maybe other PAs won't, which is that concept of trying to incorporate the ideas of what it takes to run the businesses that you're rotating through, how you might be a leader in some of these places that you might be rotating through, trying to plant those seeds as you go through these clinical phase experiences. We can go to the next one, Christy, if you like. So you can see this is the actual rotations that we have here at KGI. It's pretty much standard, a lot of these terms and rotations. There might be some variances between programs, but these are ours: family medicine, emergency, internal. We do have one elective after these. That could be at any time during it, but we're really proud that we have a nice broad scope of elective choices right now, whether it be specialty practices, internal medicine subspecialties, surgical subspecialties, and really trying to prepare you not only to be a PA, but also to get a job. And we really want to try and foster that ability to hit the ground running when you graduate from KGI, to pass your board exam and immediately be qualified to do a job versus having to train for your first year to do that job. We all have those experiences where we need to grow, but we really want to get you as best prepared as we can to be functional for the practices you're going to be working with. As you see here, you still are doing a concurrent didactic workload, which is really focused on a graduate project that's aimed to be of publishable quality to advance healthcare. And you'll be working on this as well as coming back to our program to show us what you've learned, demonstrate that your skills are growing, and take end of rotation exams to demonstrate that you have competency. So there's still a lot of learning going on in this clinical year. and it's really nonstop. It's just a constant go on the clinical year, and it's something I'm passionate about and very excited to lead and make sure that every person gets a wonderful experience and is ready to go. You can go to the next one. So I'll hand this on back to Dr. Eskis here, and she'll carry on. But hopefully you can feel my passion in the clinical year, and hopefully you can see where our focus is. And for some of you, I hope this really touches a nerve. So thanks so much for listening.
All right, so I have one more interactive slide for you all. If you don't mind, again, popping in the chat, what is it about the PA profession in general that drew you to it? So we have talked about quite a few things that PAs can do. We have talked about our program, and we're about to launch into going into the admissions process. But again, just kind of helping understand, what is it about this profession that is appealing to you? Why are you looking at a PA program to help you accomplish your goals? And it can just be a sentence. It doesn't have to be anything truly long. But what is it? I know for me, while we're waiting for people to put something in the chat, I know for me, the PA profession really gave me a chance to treat patients. I was going physical therapy for a while in my career, thinking I was going to do physical therapy, which is a great profession, but I wanted to be able to see patients earlier on in the process, and really, wanted to see entire families. I knew right from day one that was what I wanted. So the teamwork aspect, yes. Ability to work in other specialties, that lateral mobility that we had talked about. Providing care for people sooner than later. Absolutely, Supreet. That's exactly what I was trying to say too. The interprofessional patient care teams, so important. None of us work in a silo. I mean, it's really the days of having one person working by themselves is really over. So working in those interprofessional teams, definitely. Problem solving and education. Yep. Making a difference. Being involved in research, definitely. And that flexibility to switch to different specialties, for sure. Yeah, PAs do have a lot of autonomy. I think that's one of the things that, sometimes people don't understand as much coming into the PA admissions process, is that PAs really do have a lot of autonomy. Our name is changing. Our name is changing from physician assistant to a physician associate. Still a PA, but really a lot more reflective of what we actually do as professionals in our careers. And autonomy is a huge part of that. So most definitely, I love that. Thank you all for participating. All right, well, let's talk about our admissions process. This is something that I think, we're really passionate about how we've developed it. It worked great for our inaugural cohort, and we are in the throes of it again right now. I believe that we really have created a holistic approach to admissions, where we're really looking at you as a whole person, and not just a GPA. There has been a trend that I've seen across PA programs that people are scared to pick people, that don't have a 4.0 because they're afraid that it's going to affect their PANCE pass rates in the long run. And ultimately, your GPA is just a small piece of what has gotten you to where you are today. So yes, we have a minimum GPA, but once you meet that, we really are looking at your individual goals and your attributes. What have you been through in your life to get to this point? And we wrap all that together into your capacity to succeed. So again, it's not just how you did in that one chemistry class that you took, but it's really your overall capacity to succeed and all your experiences to date. So we call this admissions by the numbers. I'm going to break this down, but these are our basic requirements. So we have a requirement for a bachelor's degree, the overall GPA and science GPA of 3.0 at a minimum. Our prerequisite courses, we'll talk about that and ways to get the patient care experience. There's letters of reference, and then we actually have two different applications, but they're all in the same application. So we have the CASPA application, which is a centralized application, but we also added some additional questions. So we'll talk about that in just a second. So the bachelor's degree is required, but if you are applying right now and you don't have your bachelor's degree yet, and you plan to begin in fall of 2023, that's okay. You just need to have your bachelor's degree done before June 15th of 2023. And it can be in any field. It doesn't have to be science-based. To us, the prerequisite courses are much more important than the actual degree itself. For our incoming class that just started with us, about 40% of the class had some variation of a biology degree, but the rest were all kinds of degrees, anywhere from psychology to music. So it's definitely certainly a lot easier sometimes to get your prerequisite courses within a science base, but you don't have to. So we do use a GPA that is calculated by CASPA. So if you have been taking courses at multiple institutions and you're having a hard time trying to figure out what your GPA would be if it was calculated by CASPA, there are free online GPA calculators that you can go in, and it's a little bit tedious, but you can actually go and enter in your coursework and your GPA earned at each institution to kind of see what it would be probably calculated as for CASPA. We have to have the overall and the science GPA both at the 3.0 level, and this really is all the courses you have taken to date. So whether you took it at a community college, at a four-year college, post-bac, master's level, if it gave you an actual letter grade for the course, it will be included in these GPAs. And then if you apply and you have courses outstanding, but you go ahead and hit the submit button to CASPA, we will not be able to recalculate GPAs. So if you think you're hovering right around that 3.0 mark, you think you might be close to like a 297 or a 299, I would wait and complete that outstanding course before you hit submit. And this isn't just for our program. This is really for a lot of PA programs nationwide. That if they have a cutoff, there's a reason why it's a cutoff. Now we have 7 prerequisite courses. All of these courses must have been completed within the last 10 years for us, and all must be completed through a US accredited institution. So if you have had some coursework completed from overseas, we would not be able to accept the actual prerequisite courses, but we will take the bachelor's degree equivalent if it was overseas as well. And one of the things that I would just strongly discourage you is you can go and take an anatomy course in 3 weeks online and complete it. And that's a way that some people have decided to do their prereqs just to try to get it out of the way. But I think it would do you a great disservice coming in, because we're not looking for us. We're not reteaching anatomy. We're teaching a medical application of anatomy, assuming you have a base. And I don't know if you can really truly learn anatomy in 3 weeks through that online format. So we would accept it, but it's definitely discouraged. And again, it's really about preparing you for your future career. So when you're looking at all of our prerequisite courses, try to reframe it in your mind, not just how can I get through these as quickly as possible as a checklist, but really what courses can I take to help me in my future career to become a PA and to do better in PA school, because I had this great foundation poured for me by the courses that I took. So human anatomy and physiology with a lab. You need to have either an anatomy physiology course series, so A&P1 or A&P2, or if you're in a trimester 1, 2, and 3, or a standalone human anatomy and human physiology with a lab. There are tons of variations of this out there. We know because we're seeing them on our applications. But in general, you have to actually have a working knowledge of every part of the body in anatomy and physiology. So taking things like vertebrate anatomy or mammalian anatomy, you really want to try to find that human component, because ultimately you're going to be treating humans. And again, you need to have this as a strong foundation for you. We do accept them, by the way, online, because we understand with COVID, a lot of places have had to pivot. So it's fine for you to take these kinds of courses online. However, just make sure that you are taking them in a way that you're actually receiving and obtaining the information. Okay, so just wanted to put that little caveat in there. Microbiology for us, this just needs to be a general or a medical microbiology course. It has to cover more than just bacteria or more than just viruses. It really needs to cover all three areas, and we don't require a lab. Most places do, so you'll want to look at other PA programs as you're looking, but we don't require the lab, we just require the lecture portion. You have to have an additional biology or health science course, and it specifically has to be in one of these 7 areas. Now, again, if yours might be in one of these areas, but might have a different name to it, and that's okay, as long as it's covering the information here. I'd say genetics is probably one of the most common ones. So if you're looking at courses to take, genetics is a very common prerequisite requirement in a lot of PA programs, and it's a really good one. If you've already taken one of these classes, that's great. If you're looking for other classes to take to help support your journey as a future PA and you've got all your prereqs, take more from this list of courses, because that will only help you. There's a reason why we picked these as prereqs, because we feel like, again, it lays a really good foundation for you as a PA. We won't accept biology 101 or some other form of biology just because it's an additional biology or health science course. It really has to be in one of these 7 areas. And then our chemistry courses, you have to have 2 different chemistry courses. The first chemistry can really be any kind of chemistry as long as it includes a lab. But then the second chemistry course needs to be in either biochem, medicinal chem, or organic chemistry. So that one doesn't require a lab, and again, we know oftentimes other programs require a lab or that the lab's already included, and that's okay. But for us, typically this will look like maybe somebody took a year of general chemistry and then was able to take organic chemistry. But however you choose to do it, you just have to have the one baseline chemistry course and then another course in one of those other 3 specific types of chemistries. And then a stats course. This stats course can be through a math program or through a psych program, but it just needs to cover all the general statistics that you would need, because again, we start right off the bat with evidence-based medicine. And a lot of that is as an understanding the statistics that lead to some of our decision-making that we do when we're writing journal articles or when we're publishing and when we're trying to influence people to treat patients in a certain way and things. And you have to be able to kind of understand some of those basics before. Now, this is one that we get a lot of questions about, is the patient care experience. I would say this is probably one of the harder things to get in today's society. And we require a minimum of 1,000 hours, but our incoming class that just started with us had an average of almost 5,000 hours. So there were some that were down at 1,000, but many more that were, obviously at more than 1,000. So the more hours, the better. The more experience that you have with patients, the more that you see, it's really going to help you to be a much better prepared PA student, because you'll have seen a lot more and have that like aha factor when we're teaching you, we're talking about something, you can relay it to something that you've seen in the course of your patient care experience to date. Now, these are examples, but it is far from a full inclusive list of examples as well. So there's a lot of different ways that people can obtain patient care experience. I would say from our incoming class, the vast majority of students were scribes. They were EMTs, and then they were medical assistants. If you have questions about your specific experience, we'll pop our contact information at the end, and you can email our admissions team and they'd be happy to let you know whether or not it would be accepted. But it really has to be hands-on and direct patient care. So if you are a caregiver for someone and you're cooking and cleaning and providing those types of things, that's not truly as in-depth for the patient care experience that we're looking for. Okay. Yes, and Janet just popped the admissions email in the chat as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Our admissions team is absolutely incredible. So we also require 3 letters of reference. One of them must be from a healthcare provider, and it must be a physician. So either an MD or a DO or a PA or a nurse practitioner, someone who is a clinician, who is seeing patients, who has actually watched you in action. So whether it was in a work experience or a shadowing experience, someone who can really tell us about whether or not they think you're a good fit for medicine and for patient care. It's definitely preferred to be from someone you work with. But again, we recognize that sometimes you're in a situation where you don't necessarily work with a provider. I know one of the ones that frequently comes up is like an EMT who's constantly on an ambulance and works with a paramedic partner or works with another EMT partner, but doesn't necessarily work closely with the physician, the medical director for the ambulance company. Sometimes it might be that you frequent a local hospital and there's a provider that you see all the time who can attest to the way that you cared for the patient on the way, things like that. So there's ways to get creative on how to get that reference if you don't directly work with a healthcare provider. Your second letter can be from one of the following. So it can be another healthcare reference from any person who works in patient care. So maybe this might be your charge nurse that you work with, or somebody else that you actually work closely alongside. It can be an academic reference from a professor or advisor, or it can be someone, if you are working in a research setting right now, and you are collaborating closely, or maybe you have a supervisor who is overseeing your research, that might be a great reference for this as well. And then the third one is your choice. However, that being said, none of your letters can be from a family friend or a personal or a family member or a personal friend. So if you have someone who, you are, let's say you're working as a dental assistant and you have a physician who is one of your patients and they come in and see you all the time and say, hey, I wouldn't necessarily want that person being the person who's writing a letter. Or maybe you have an uncle who works as a PA who wants to attest to your amazing skills and abilities, but they are related to you. So we really need this kind of a little bit more impartial view of who you are. And one of the things for us is that you have to have submitted 3 letters of reference at the time that you complete your application to CASPA. So make sure that you've picked all 3 wisely and that you've hit submit before you go ahead and complete your CASPA application. All right, so speaking of which, so most PA programs, not all of them, but most PA programs use one application and for all PA programs nationwide, and you'll send all your transcripts to them. You write a personal statement, you send all your letters of reference. They will upload everything directly into the CASPA application, so it makes it really easy on us to have everything all in one spot. But because you're sending this one application to every PA program, it's really hard for us to see who you are as an individual and how you align with our values. So we added in 5 short answer questions that really focus on our mission to basically hear a little bit more about you directly in relationship to what we're about as well, and see if we're a good fit. Now we have a few admissions preferences, so we will give additional consideration if you are underrepresented in medicine, which for us, for the PA profession, is pretty much every racial ethnic background outside of Caucasian, because the PA profession definitely needs to become more diverse, and we want to support that diversity. If you're a first gen, we want to also give additional consideration. If you have a history of life experiences requiring perseverance and have developed grit through that. If you are military, our profession was founded based on the military. And then if you also have either attended and you're a current student of KGI specifically, or the Claremont colleges, we want to give additional consideration. So what that means for us is if you don't have any of these, that's okay. You can still make it in our program. It's just an additional consideration if everything else is equal. So I want you to have, a knowledge about that, and also to understand we've got a lot more details about each of these things on our website as well. So again, we will provide that information so you can go to our website because it actually has a ton of information and explains these a little bit more. So this is our timeline right now that we are currently in for next cycle. So CASPA is officially open. We have passed our priority deadline. We have begun interviews, And CASPA for us closes on December 1st. And this is all usually Eastern time. So you must have submitted your application by 8:59 p.m. California time on December 1st as well. So if you are looking to apply this cycle, that is the end date for us. We will make all of our final decisions by March, and class will begin in the end of August. Just a quick note about our accreditation status. So the ARC-PA is an accrediting body that accredits all PA programs nationwide. And when you are a brand new program, you apply for a status called provisional accreditation. Now, this is our accreditation statement. But what does it really mean? So it just means that for every brand new PA program, our accreditors will actually be monitoring us very closely over the next 5 years. So they are coming back every couple of years. They're going to talk to our students. They're going to look at all of our documents and make sure that we're doing what we say we're going to do. So we can't just, turn in this really beautiful application and then create a totally different program where we're not fulfilling what we say. So they're going to watch us closely. And at the end of the 5 years, and then they would give us, if we earned it, they would give us continued accreditation. So provisional accreditation is just a status that's given to brand new programs and is in place for 5 years. Our students are going to be eligible to graduate, earn their degree, sit for pants. Nothing goes on your transcript that says that, we were provisionally accredited versus continually accredited. It's a full accreditation status. Again, it just means that our accreditors will be coming and just checking up on us more frequently. And then here's our contact information. I want to make sure, like I said, I'm pointing you to a website, kgi.edu/MSPA. We have such tremendous detail on our website, probably answers a lot of questions, but we're so happy to answer questions here and now as well. I want to give you the opportunity to do so. If you have a specific question about like your type of patient care experience, definitely email the admissions team. We are in close contact with them. And then also just fun stuff about our Instagram. We're pretty active on that. We have a lot of stories with our students and what they're doing. We do a lot of health fairs and community work. So you can follow us on our Instagram as well. But I want to go ahead and open it up to questions. So you can either put a question into the chat and we will monitor that. Or if you'd like to use the raise hand button, it makes it so that on your actual Zoom, it makes it so that we can actually see you and you pop up to the top and we can answer questions that way as well. So feel free to put some questions in the chat or to raise your hand so that we can answer them between myself and Dr. Laird. So any questions? Did we answer all of your questions? Or has it just been a really long day? That's okay too.
You really did go in detail, so thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah, if anybody comes up with any questions, maybe after the webinar or in a couple of days, please feel free to email our admissions team, like Dr. Esky said. We're more than happy to help you answer any questions that you may have in regards to admissions or our summer program or anything relating to the program or about KGI. We're more than happy to help. But last chance for questions, if there are any. Oh, thank you. Oh, I see one question in the chat. So you have started interviewing for the cycle. Have you had the first round of interviews yet?
We just did, yes. So we are, we're still continuing to review applications. So if you are one who has applied to us, hang tight. We're still reviewing all the applications and going through, and there's still lots of slots for interviews available. So we'll be continuing to contact people on a regular basis as well. Awesome. Yes, you're welcome. So the chemistry courses, yes. So I should have mentioned it. I don't know if I did mention it. I need to make sure that that gets mentioned about having up to 2 prerequisites outstanding at the time that you apply. So if you've already taken Gen Chem 1 and 2 and all you need to do is get an organic chem or a biochem, absolutely, you are welcome to apply without that course completed. We will, contact you to kind of let you know that we know that it's not completed, to make sure you have a plan for completion. But definitely, you can have up to 2 of those prereqs outstanding. Ooh, that's a great question for Dr. Laird. Would you anticipate any obstacles for clinical hours if there was another COVID-19 surge?
Yeah, I think obviously, we learned a lot from the last surge about ways to manage this and get through PA education. PA education was able to make it through the pandemic and move forward and graduate students, and we would anticipate the same things. Obviously, if there was another surge or another pandemic or another disease, we would have to adjust and make changes, but I don't anticipate that it would stop education. I do think that if you said obstacles, I think clearly any kind of pandemic would be an obstacle for clinical hours, but we're prepared to deal with that and make sure we can move everyone forward. So. And as far as that last question, just since I'm on, clinical hours are primarily aimed, I think locally is a little subjective. We're really trying to be within 50 miles for the majority of our rotation sites. We will have some that are outside of that, but we're doing our best to try and limit the stress on our students for drive time while still trying to meet all of our objectives for education. But also trying to allow people the opportunity to get the kind of sites they want. So I'm really focusing in that 50-mile region, but we will have some that are stretching out of that. Right now, we're down to San Diego, Palm Springs, and LA, and some of those are a little farther than 50 miles at this point.
And then there was one question about the ARC-PA accreditation versus other types of accreditation. No, right now there's only one accrediting body for PA programs specific to PA. All institutions have to be regionally accredited. So, whatever institution you go to, whether it's for undergrad or graduate, there always is a regional accrediting body as well. So for us, it's something called WASC. And so we do have a WASC approval to be able to have our program. But that actually comes first before ARC-PA, as far as making sure that those 2 accrediting, that you have a regional accreditation, but along with the PA accreditation. So there's not another type of accrediting body for PAs as far as PA education goes. GRE for us, what do you think, Dr. Laird? Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, no, so we have pretty strong opinions about those standardized tests as far as the lack of actual benefit and the fact that they can actually be a little bit restrictive for people that come from backgrounds that are traditionally underserved. So we don't feel that they're equally distributed as far as the ability to actually assess people for their performance in PA school. So we don't really weight those GREs or any of those other standardized tests in any way in our application process. So we just really would encourage you to, we weight much more on those other things that really show us who you are, not your ability to take a test, such as what have you done, what have you created, and who are you as a person, not what ability you have to pass a standardized test that we're not exactly sure can assess you for being in PA school. So I'm trying to be open, but I'm also letting you know we have a little bit of an opinion on that. So hopefully you pick that up. So by the way, I love the question about insight on the interview. I think we're going to go ahead and say we're not going to provide that one for you, but I appreciate the attempt. That was really, really great. But we're not going to provide that insight, but thanks for trying.
Yeah, no, we do. It's definitely a day. I mean, we do a lot of different things in the interview process. So I actually have been hearing that there are some PA programs that it's a 5-minute one-on-one interview and that's it. And that's your whole interview, or a 10-minute. And as you can tell, like, our whole goal is to try to get to know you as a person. So for sure, our interviews have been designed specifically with that purpose, where you'll be able to, I think, let us get to know you and you get to know us too. So definitely. We do that in a variety of ways. So Kevin asked, do we offer any one-on-one meetings for pre-PA students for additional guidance? So our admissions team definitely, like, if you have questions about your specific courses that you've taken or the type of patient care experience you have, things like that, absolutely. We definitely do one-on-one meetings with our admissions team about that. But we also have some great additional, visit days and things that you can actually kind of get a hold of us one-on-one as well. So we don't have a formal pre-PA mentorship program at this time. And so we just started with our first cohort, but it is something that we are looking at for the future. Any other questions? So Janet popped in the chat about the summer program, and I think that's a really great program for us as well. And you might already be on the pre-PA course and already be gung-ho about PA, but if you know somebody who's on the fence or they don't understand PA, or maybe they're even in high school and they're trying to figure out what all their options are, we have a great summer program that will help, kind of address what is a PA, what do we do, and we walk through cases. It's a lot of fun. So definitely please check out that summer program. And we do have an admissions a visit day on next Saturday on November 12th. And every Friday, KGI also hosts tours as well. So you're welcome to also be able to come see the campus and get a tour on Visit Fridays as well. But the in-person visit day that's going to be a little more expansive is that November 12th date. So if you're local and you're interested, we would love to have you sign up, and you can click on that link. Is there any other questions as we wrap up these last couple minutes? Yes. Oh, goodness. Our community opportunities. Oh, could I take another hour of your time to talk about them? We absolutely, it's so exciting. So there's actually a lot of health fairs. So KGI has a lot of clubs here, and a lot of the different clubs go out and do health fairs and health screenings and things. We've actually partnered with an organization called Tenna Health. And it was started by one of our pharmacy students, actually, who goes into different areas, but focused specifically on South LA right now, and helps provide health screenings and health information. And we're looking to expand that, but our students participate. Everything is volunteer, but it's also, we have opportunities that we're developing right now for our students to be able to go as part of their classes to go and serve the communities as well. So lots of great opportunities with this too. Ravit, that's not a problem. So our collaboration with the other professions in KGI. So we're developing the interprofessional education with the other departments that we have here. So we have a community medicine program, occupational therapy doctorate, pharmacy, there's a medical device engineering program, and then genetic counseling, that's a big one for us too. So there's ways that our students all will be able to collaborate with one another and walk through cases together and potentially do projects together. One of the things that some of our students are part of is called the NORD Society, which is the National Organization for Rare Diseases. Actually, Dr. Laird is a chairperson for that group and helps support that. And some of our students are participating in that, where they help actually get word out about rare diseases. And so there's a lot of opportunities here too. So do we offer fellowships to pursue different specialties? So no, that's what you're going to get exposure to the different specialties while you're coming through the program. So we don't have any like post-graduation fellowships at this time, but we've got a lot of connections with local fellowship opportunities too. So we plan to expose our students to a lot of them.
And I'll be honest with you, Kevin, that was a great question.
Yeah.
Hopefully by preparing our students to be a little bit more equipped for emergency and surgical subspecialties, we're kind of hoping to have to reduce some of the pressure on people interested in those fields to have to go to those fellowships or secondary educations, because they come with quite a cost and an investment. And after PA school, that's pretty tough for people. So we're really trying to create a new model where we can prepare our students to get those jobs and create the connections that they can get those directly out of school. Now, it doesn't mean that those fellowships don't serve a role and you may not want to do that, but we're just really trying to create that specialized training that helps to prepare people without having to do those things. So, but good question. Thank you.
Yes, Jennifer, so you just asked, that's okay. No problem. You just asked about geographic residence. Nope, we don't even look at that. So that's not part of our process. So we don't weight more heavily if you're in California or if you're not in California at all. So yes, the non-traditional background is just part of who you are. And we actually, you know, when we're evaluating you, we've talked about what your experiences are, your perseverance level, things like that. As a non-traditional student, you actually have a very, you know, big story to tell, right? So that's part of the holistic process. Absolutely.
One last question from Sufri. Since we
Thank
are coming up on
you.
time.
Oh, potential red flags. Absolutely. I think one of the things that I've come across, not just here, but elsewhere as well, is actually people fibbing and lying on an application is probably number one. We have ways of being able to find out, like if you say that you have the minimum hours and it doesn't look like things are, you know, lining up well, things like that. Or we've uncovered when people have forged a letter of reference, things like that. Those are major, major, major red flags for us. So honesty, transparency, openness. We don't want to find out something is not accurate on an application. I'd say that's number one, for sure. So definitely just, you know, as long as everything you put in your application is accurate and true, that's a good start.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in and say that, you know, really for us at KGI, if you're asking us specifically, you know, we really want students that align with our vision and our goals for making an impact on our profession, for being able to really, you know, take any role, whether it be leaders in a hospital, leaders on a surgical team, innovating new products, industry positions. And so we really want people to align with that. So obviously anybody that's, you know, not focused on those things or not being honest really wouldn't fit the vision of KGI, nor do I think that they would have a good experience within our program if they were to come in. So I think that, you know, that's what I would choose as a red flag, is just someone that really is applying to our program, but has basically ethics or ideals that are in question and wouldn't fit our program well. And we're really trying to seek that out, because we want students to have a great experience with us, both on their end and our end. We really just want to have a wonderful connection together. So, and we're getting pretty good at picking that up. So, so I hope that was a thorough answer for your question, which is a really good question. So.
Actually, I think this next question is probably much needed to answer, especially with the climate right now. The virtual PA shadowing hours.
Yep. Yes. And it is definitely something that we value that you've done it if you are doing virtual shadowing, because it is nice to be able to talk to a PA. But there is something a little bit different about watching a PA in action with actual patients and how they are then talking about patient care. So because virtual shadowing hours is pretty much like a lecture, talking about cases, talking about different things, but actually seeing how the PA is, how they interact with their team, how they're interacting with their patients, how they respond in case of an emergency, you know, those kinds of things. It's invaluable. The virtual shadowing is certainly not accepted. I mean, we're looking at it and valuing that you're working on it. But there's a lot of virtual shadowing opportunities if you're able to get in-person shadowing. We don't require shadowing as any, you know, part of our experiences, but it helps us see that you are really kind of having a well-rounded view of the profession. And I think there's just something a little different about in-person versus that virtual part. So again, all shadowing is accepted as far as like us seeing that you've done the shadowing. But there is something, you know, special about the in-person shadowing versus that virtual.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Eskes and Dr. Laird, for being here today and for answering all these questions. And thank you, everyone, for submitting such wonderful questions. I know people will review these and get some insight from these. But again, if there are any questions, please send them to admissions@kgi.edu. We appreciate everyone's time being here today. We appreciate you, Dr. Eskes and Dr. Laird, for being here today as well, presenting for us and for giving us the information. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and good luck with your applications. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone.